Hello, and welcome to The Secret Life of Therapists. I'm your coach, Dr. Habiba Zaman. I'm your coach. I'm your therapist. I'm your whatever host. I'm all the above. It is what it is, right? At this point. And I have Coach Alex here with me. I'm so excited to introduce him. Honestly, guys, get your bucket of popcorn ready. We have something completely different, completely unique, and a completely different outlook on life coming at you today. So welcome, Coach Alex.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Habiba. Hey, guys. Happy to be with you on the call today. So
Thank you. I told you right before we started recording, I have none of this planned or scripted or anything. I didn't even get my my name correct. It is just,
sure,
it's just
I don't have
how it goes.
any pre-planned
Right. It's
answers as
life.
well. So that's good.
Right. So, tell us where you're coming from. I think this is the
Um,
most exciting part.
well, I'm from Ukraine, and I was raised into a poor family in Ukraine, in Western Ukraine. And I always dreamt about like being free because I lived into poverty, and my father was an alcoholic, and like 3, 4, 5 days a month we had really nightmare because there was some small fighting, and I dreamt about freedom. I dreamt to leave my parents and to support my living. But I also wanted to do something that's not like my mom. She was sort of like an IT specialist, and she worked 12, 14 hours a day, and she was so exhausted. So I dreamt about, sort of like building my own practice or my business. I didn't know what it would be, but I dreamt to be free. So freedom was my main and most like the biggest desire. Yeah.
So, what does freedom mean to you? How do you define freedom?
Uh, so at that time, freedom for me, first of all, it was having enough money to put food on the table, because we really struggled with that. We were lucky that we had some, but we ate really poorly. So that was the first thing, to have money to put food on the table. Then um, I wanted to do something different than my mom, because she worked just for money. It was no matter what she was doing, she wanted money because I was a kid, and she had to raise me. So I wanted to change it to do something in life that I love. Like have some money, make money, and do the things I love. So this is what freedom looked like for me. And one more thing, I hated school, so that's why I hated to wake up at 7 a.m. I wanted to wake up when I wanted, at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. So that was like a big priority for me. So basically, these three things were like my top priority. This is what freedom meant for me at the time.
You wanted to be in charge of the course of your life, it sounds like, right? You wanted to say, this is the direction it's headed, not have anybody else define that for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. No, I completely understand. Entrepreneur as well, as you know, and it's one of those things, I think you either have an entrepreneurial spirit or you don't, right? And
I have one, so I noticed that
yes.
very early in my life.
Okay. So, a lot of people don't understand. Many people live it. I'm not minimizing that, but a lot of people don't understand that a lot of entrepreneurs begin with this fear-based hunger, right? To
100%.
have a different existence, to have a completely different reality. I'm one of them.
Yes,
Um,
me as well.
the life struggles is kind of, I love meeting people who also, they say, this is my story and it's not pretty and it's not kind and it wasn't easy. And yet I still decided I wanted something different for myself and I wanted something different for my family, versus the narrative of, this is all I know, so this is exactly what I've done.
Yep, I agree with you. Um, honestly, my mom, she wanted me to become an IT guy because the IT profession at the time, especially in Western Ukraine, was very, very popular. And so she had planned a life for me. Yeah, and honestly, I was up for it because I didn't know what to do else, and it seemed like reasonable. IT specialists, they make good money, so I thought, okay, yeah. But when I enrolled into the university very early, like in two first years, I realized that was not my way. I was not into IT. The guys were way smarter than me, so I was a dumb, like really dumb in IT. So I quickly realized, no, that's not for me. I need to do something else. Yeah, so that was a
That
big
makes sense.
stress
I
for me.
can't do technology. A big reason why we were late getting started today is because I couldn't get my things to function properly with my other things, with my other
Yeah,
sessions.
yeah,
And technology and I are just not friends, right? My son, my eldest son, he loves everything computer.
yeah.
Computer engineering is his thing. He's been building it since he was 9 years old. And that's what his profession's going to be. And he conceptualizes it in a way that I'm looking at him and I'm
Mhm.
like, yes. And he was like, that's not a yes or no statement. What I was just saying, it doesn't require a yes or no. And I'm like, you lost me a while ago. Mommy's just trying to keep, I think with
Yeah,
IT and anything technology related, you get it or you don't. And it's the same thing with human beings, right? Like I
right.
understand human beings, and to me, psychology, it
It's
comes
easy
so
for me.
naturally and so easy. Yes, and other people will take the classes and they're like, I don't understand. This makes no,
Yes,
you know what I mean? Everybody, I think, is built for something. And we
yes.
really do have to pursue what that means for us. I don't think that it just comes, oh, I'll do this. Oh my God, oh my God, I cannot imagine ever being in charge of anybody's technology. Like, this is
Yeah.
how it would blow up everything. Nothing would
Yeah,
work.
absolutely. I know that from my own experience because when I started coaching, that was back in 2009. The first specialization was I helped people to find their life purpose, their
Yeah.
meaning in life, and I know that people are all different. They have different talents, they have different traits of characters, like everything different, and it was so exciting to help people find their own way to live, their own way to make money. Somebody wanted to be an entrepreneur. Somebody wanted to build a huge business. Somebody hated the business at all. They wanted to find just a job and just be absolutely okay with that. So people are different, talents are different, and that's very important for us to realize what's our own strength and what's our weaknesses and focus on strength. So your strength is like understanding human psychology, feeling people, understanding them, helping them with their like personal issues, traumas. But your son, he's into technology, so that's cool.
And yet both of us, we're figuring out the puzzles, right? His is the puzzle of technology, mine is the puzzle of humans.
Yeah.
And I see this so much, and I'm sure you do too, where people go through life and they continue down this path because that's what they're supposed to do, right? They got the degree, or
Yeah.
they've been doing this company, or they're making a lot of money, so they just have to keep going
Yes.
down. I spoke to one of my friends yesterday, and I told him, I was like, this is very difficult to do in practice, but no matter how far down a road you go, you can always turn around. And I don't know if anybody is taught that early on enough so that it doesn't come with so much shame when you decide to change courses.
It's very hard. It takes lots of courage because there are lots of fears, and still maybe people have kids and they need to raise their kids, so they have so many obligations that they just can't just turn around and change the path. So that's easy when you're young. When somebody supports you, like your parents, and you can try yourself in any sphere and just choose whatever you like. But when you are grown up and you're into life, there are so many responsibilities.
Right. And I think it's important to know that you're always evolving, right? There's always going to be a new version of you, a different version of you that's a little bit more different than it was 5 years ago. And honoring yourself and recognizing that change. And sometimes, I don't know, there's this misconception, especially social media. Don't get me started on social media. But conception of we have the same 24 hours in a day. So if I can do it, you can do it. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Someone who has no children, for example, does not have the same 24 hours in the day as someone who has 2 or 3 or 4 or just one child that's another human, or the ones that take care of their parents at home, or the time differences, the work differences, the responsibility differences. I think we shame people a little too much on what is where you should be, right?
Yep. So yesterday I worked with a client, and he has a renovation business. He's like 60 years old, and he's been reading lots of personal development books, and he was talking about discipline. He compared himself to young guys who were full of energy, who completed lots of stuff, who made like big money, and he was, I'm not disciplined enough. I can't do this. I can't wake up in the morning and go for a walk. I have some pain, and like this comparison to other people, that basically makes no sense, because you're at absolutely different points. He has his renovation business for 20 years. He has different energy at his age, and young people, they have hunger, and and that's
not just that. A young person can stay up almost all night doing whatever they need to do and then still function, while I'm over here in my 40s. If I don't go to bed by 10 p.m., I'm not functioning well the next day.
I agree with you. Sometimes when we drink wine with my wife in the evening, in the morning we wake up like, oh, I'm not feeling so good, but we just drank half a bottle, but still we're waking up. Oh, it's not so good. But in our 20s, we could drink like 2 bottles, and we were full of energy in the morning, do whatever stuff. So like nothing happened the day before. So that's strange.
Oh, yeah, I need a nap before I can go dancing at night. I need a nap during the day first. And it's just, and I used to be the kind of human that never took naps ever. And I was good. And I was full of life and vibrancy and things like that. And there's a reality in aging, right, where that comparison isn't fair.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
And not just in age, with just where you are in life, where you are located, right, the opportunities that are present. I do believe in making your own way, because that's what I've done. I've bulldozed my way through life. However, what was accessible to me is not always accessible to other people, just like what's accessible to other people was not and will not be accessible for me.
Yes, that makes total sense. So I really believe that people demand so much from themselves, and that's why they blame themselves. They feel guilty, and that guilt makes them even less resourceful than they can be. So these demands, they grow from like comparing to other people, like too much of education, and just applying to yourself the things that honestly you don't have to apply to yourself. And this is.
Did you ever struggle with that?
Yeah, for sure. So honestly, when I started my coaching business, and I like Tony Robbins was my guru. So I looked at him and I wanted to be like him, because but I wanted to be like him in the Russian speaking market. So I learned English. So I learned from the US gurus, but I built my business in the like Ukrainian, Russian, and post-Soviet Union market. Yeah, and I wanted to be like him, but the time was different, and I couldn't build as big business. I couldn't succeed as him because the time was different. You know, like the environment in the US and the environment in Ukraine and in Russia. So that's absolutely non-comparable to the US market. So that's why that was my like big comparison that I struggled a lot and I felt really guilty. I blamed myself that I couldn't fill in the room with thousands of people. I filled in the room with hundreds of people, but not thousands. And I felt really bad because I was not like Tony Robbins. I couldn't do like him. And that was that was tough.
So what did you do with that?
At first, I tried to push harder. I tried to read more books, to educate more, to learn marketing, to learn sales, to build a bigger team. But there was some. It seemed like there was some ceiling that I couldn't go over. And then I help people to find their like life purpose, understand themselves. But I didn't fully realize myself. So then I realized that there are business owners. They are born like a business owners, and I was just an entrepreneur. I was a personal development guy, so I was not that kind of mentality, that kind of mindset that honestly could build that big empire, like personal development empire. I tried, but the more I pushed, the worse I felt, and then everything ended up in a depression. My business with the partners fell apart, and my dream of freedom. At one point, I reached that point. I made 10 grand a month for Ukraine, for the city where I lived. That was like an tremendous achievement. But then with the partner, we pushed so hard that honestly, we lost everything. We were in huge debt. We put so much money into advertisement, into marketing that like we wasted more than we made, and then like we parted ways. So then I found myself in a depression. I wanted like to die at some point, that I was like a failure. So, and when I found myself in that situation, I realized something was wrong. So that comparison, that was killing me instead of making me stronger. So
Right.
that was what I experienced.
And I think a lot of people, everybody that's ever been on any kind of journey of doing something on their own, right? Building something on their own, it's not talked about enough about how this is how it looks. It doesn't
Yes.
look like this
Yes,
whatsoever,
exactly.
right?
And I believed for so many years in my life, I believed that life is going only up, like a straight line up. And I wanted to go that trajectory, but I was not ready for volatiles, and especially going to just absolute zero and starting from this crash again.
Right. Because it's not just, okay, yeah, I had a business and the business didn't work out. It's if only we are able to separate our emotions and what it
Yeah,
means for us, right? Because
right.
if that was the case and you're like, yeah, okay, I gave something a shot and it didn't work, and then next, thank you, next. I wish as humans we could do that, but no one is capable of that,
Yes.
because what we're building is an extension of our identity. Right?
Yes.
So when that doesn't work out, it's like our entire identity collapses.
Yes, absolutely. That's so hard. And really, you identify yourself as a failure. Like I told myself, there was some sort of negative thinking. I know about positive thinking. You must think that you are like a leader, you are great. But there were lots of thoughts like you are a loser, you are a failure, you can't do anything. So I struggled with that a lot.
And
Yeah,
I think
and
everyone does,
yeah.
right? And I think that's what I mean by I don't think enough people talk about it, because, you know, I've been a practicing therapist for 15 years. September will be 15. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
September will be 15 years that I've been licensed. And, when I'm a guest on somebody's show and they're like, what do you think about imposter syndrome? And I was like, I still have it. They're like, what do
Yep,
you mean?
I still have it as well.
Yeah. And I think that's normal. Anytime we do something new, anytime we do and try a path that we haven't tried before, we're going to feel like an imposter because our brain literally doesn't have the schemas, the little baskets of how we define reality, right? So we're creating this new basket for our understanding. And of course, you're going to feel like it's not. And the therapist I was 15 years ago is not the same therapist. I'm not even the same woman that I was 5 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So of course, as you grow and evolve, you're going to doubt your sense of reality and your sense of worth and purpose and everything, because not doubt, hopefully, to the point where every day is a struggle, but I think some form of doubt is natural. It should, because it just shows you that
Yes.
what you're doing matters.
Yes. I hadn't come across imposter syndrome until I started over in the English speaking market. So when I started after the war in Ukraine started in 2022, I started from zero in the new language with new English speaking clients. And I was so scared of working with my first client in English because a language barrier, I was not so fluent in English. English is my third language. And at that point, I really felt what the imposter syndrome was, because I was a real imposter. I came from some different market. I told some story from my past, and people from the US and Canada, they didn't relate to anything that I told about my childhood and anything. So that was so weird. Like, yeah, but you can be an imposter and still keep building the business, keep helping people, keep
Right.
keep living your life. So that's normal. Just
And I think the imposter syndrome just, it comes from fundamentally, right? Growing up feeling like what you have to offer is not going to be enough. And so again, I have too many certifications. I have plenty of degrees, and I still sometimes wonder, like when I started my podcast, right? I was just like, what do I have to say that hasn't already been discussed? Like what value do I have to add to the universe? And then of course, with how society is going, there's too many people with microphones that spew a bunch of nonsense, and I was like, okay, that needs to be the purpose. I want an actual voice of experienced people that speak truth that is based on science and truth, and not just whatever nonsense that
yeah.
fuels whatever the theme is for the month. And
Yes.
then if it's like, then I'm building an app right now. Like I said, technology, I'm not building shit.
Okay.
I have a company that's building it for me, and they're fantastic. They're wonderful. But every now and then that message comes back when I'm silent, when I'm quiet, which is why people are constantly running and going, so they don't have to sit with the voices in their heads when things are silent, where it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you paying to build an app? What do you think your app is going to give the world that's not out there already? Which is not true. What I'm building is not out there at all. We did a lot of market strategy and data finding and everything
That's
to make
perfect.
sure that it's not there, and it's not. And I'm very, very excited to share with everyone when it does come out. But, that voice always shows up. If it's this, if it's learning a new dance, because I love dancing. That's my passion and joy
Cool.
that I found after 40, you
Cool.
know? But I've always loved music, and I used to be a musician and all these things. And I never let it just be what it is, which is just pure joy, right? It's just feeling alive. And I don't know if a lot of people don't have the luxury of being able to find careers that make them feel this way, to feel alive, like I do when I do all these little
That's
things
cool.
that I've invested my existence into. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Yeah, I just a few words about dancing, because dancing theme is very close to me as well. So when I was at the Tony Robbins event in 2010, so he teaches jumping affirmations. You tell like, I'm great, you jump, and then hands up, like, I'm great, I'm a great salesman, I love life, and you're jumping. And so I brought that technique to the Russian speaking market. We did that with my clients. And then many of my clients, they were women like 40, 50 years old, and they told me, Alex, like it's difficult for us to jump. Can we just dance? And I said, okay, we can dance. Yeah, and then we all started dancing, and they loved that so much. So women were for dancing. And so then it was probably 2016 when we all switched from jumping to dancing. And during our live events, like hundreds of people were just we turned on the music and we were doing affirmations, but we were not jumping but dancing, and that was so fun. So I really enjoyed this so much. And honestly, nowadays I turn on the music myself and I'm doing sort of dancing with affirmations, like everything that pops up on my mind. Sometimes gratitude. I'm grateful for that I'm in the English speaking market. I'm grateful that I rebuilt my business, and everything good. So gratitude plus dancing, that works fantastic for me. So I love dancing as well.
Yes. I have, you've experienced depression, as you've said before. Major depressive disorder and I are friends. She comes to visit every now and then. And when people are in kind of like the low of the depressive episode, right before it comes back around, they struggle so much with gratitude, right? Because your brain is
That's
having such a
impossible
hard
to do.
time
Gratitude.
identifying what that looks like. And gratitude is crucial to rebalancing the brain chemistry and then strengthening the pathways in your brain to find things that bring you joy, to find things that make you feel passionate, right? But when you're depressed,
you can't do this. Yeah, I experienced that.
so what do you do?
So
that's not
one quick note: I didn't experience clinical depression, so it was like the sort of desperation. I call it micro depression. I was functioning. I wasn't laying on couch. I was still doing stuff, but I felt really miserable. So that's
with
what
that. That is also another misconception. People think that when they experience depression, they're incapable and immobile almost and just unable to function. And that's not true. One of again, depression and I are very much friends. As with PTSD, I do have, I meet the criteria for these two friends of mine.
Okay.
And just because of life and what life has happened and how it's shown up for me. And never have I called off work because of that. Never have I not taken care of my children because of it.
Yeah.
Never have I not been able to function. And so from the outside, it looks like I'm constantly,
okay with you. Yeah.
Superpower, just always going. But on the inside, it's so difficult to show up like that on a regular basis. But it gets done. Because there's no other option, right? For some people, when you don't have that option, when there's no one to pick you up, but you have other people that has to rely on you, it's very difficult to be able to just stop. And for me, I was more afraid of stopping. If I stopped, then I might never get back up.
Yeah. So responsibilities, they often help when you're in depression, because you're doing something. You have things to do, and when you're moving, your energy is at least flowing in some way. So it's easier to get out of the depression when you have responsibilities. So I am like my wife. She's experienced anxiety disorders, especially when the war started, and living where the bombs are flying and the missiles and the drones and the explosions, and so that's tough.
Right. But I mean, how could you not, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just an environment where this is going to be your reaction to it.
Yep.
What was it like for you to still carry on and do what you need to do when everything is crumbling around you?
You mean during the war or during the depression?
During the war.
The first year was really tough, like really, because there was major uncertainty. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't encounter the war in any way. So we felt like we would all die. So I was like the first month I thought that okay, I need to say bye bye to all my to my apartments, to my all belongings. But the most difficult was to handle with my wife's mental state, because she's a woman, and women feel the violence way more than men, and this is very like she's more vulnerable, and that was really tough when like I was a little bit okay because I worked with my clients. I still had to work to do, but she was so afraid. And in the news, you can hear that the missile hit that apartment building, and we were, oh, thank God, that's not our apartment building. And so you were functioning, but you stopped dreaming because the death was so close to you, and you don't project the future because okay, I'm not sure whether I will live tomorrow. you know
That's
that's
so powerful.
that's
What you just said is so powerful. You're functioning, but you're not dreaming. That's so
mm,
profound. And I know so many people have felt that way at various points in their lives.
yeah, yeah. But what I can say that the reality is not so scary as people's thoughts, as our imagination. Because when I tell people about the war, they're crazy there because they don't know what it is. But when you're living in it, like everything's okay. The restaurants are full of people. The beaches are full of people, and they're swimming in the sea, and everything seems like okay. So you wouldn't say that anything is going on here, but in your
Until the
mind.
building
And
next to you blows up.
huh?
Until the building next to you blows up. I
Yeah,
mean, I
that
do
that
think that
happens,
that's
but
the resiliency of human beings. That's the resilient nature. We still have to find some semblance of normalcy, find some semblance
yes,
of existing. So, like you
yes,
said, people are still going swimming, people are still going to restaurants because you have to, otherwise your brain will crack,
yeah,
right? You're not
yeah,
going to be able to continue on without being able to desensitize to yourself, your brain, and your reality a little bit.
yeah, yeah. And so this is very frightening, but like I would say interesting experience. Some really I learned gratitude thanks to the war. So when the war started, I the first month I was accepting that I would lose everything. I surrendered to the circumstances. The books I read, they told that was weakness. You can't surrender. You can't yield. You need to push forward. You need to push harder. But here you can't push harder anymore because the world is collapsing. And then when I yield, when I surrender, I felt lighter. I let go of all my like mental. I let go of all my belongings, that I can lose my apartments, I can lose my relationships, I can lose myself. I lost my business that brought me hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit every year. So, and that was really tough, letting go of the things that you get used to. But then I but then when you surrender, you switch to gratitude. You realize that okay, you're still living. Okay, you're still breathing. Okay, you're here and now. You're with your wife. You can go for a walk. You can like there is food in the grocery stores, and you can buy. So like you're living while others people are not so lucky. So and then you're switching to gratitude. Before, that's very life-changing experience, like game-changing experience, because mm, it's frightening, but you start valuing very simple things. You wake up, thank God. I've woken up this morning. Okay, thank God. People don't think about this, but every morning I woke up, thank God, thank you. The night was calm. We had a good sleep. Thank you. Um, and then you're switching to gratitude. So the first year of gratitude, the first year of war, it was very frightening. It was like a nightmare. But the paradox, it was the most gratitude year of my entire life, because I was grateful for literally everything, for every step, for my health, for my mental health, for the business that I had. I took it as for granted. I thought that it was normal to build a business that brought hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit. I thought that was normal. But when I lost it, I realized, oh, I did something great, you know. So, and then like step by step, I realized how lucky I was. That was like very transformative experience. No book, no training, and nothing can teach you this, but only real life.
Right. Right, right. And
Yeah.
gratitude is, I think it can be the biggest healing, but then it's a practice that needs to happen daily. One of the things I will randomly attack my children with, and I say attack because we'll just be sitting there eating dinner, and I'm like, all right, 10 things, let's go. From today, from the moment you woke up, give me 10 things that you're grateful for.
Uh-huh.
And they used to joke and say things like, I'm grateful for the door that I get to close. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not doing that. Give me real things that you've experienced. Because when they struggle with finding something, right, to say, I'm grateful for this, it's because that pathway is not there,
Yeah.
right? It's still morning here for me. And I can pop off 10 things like this to you right now, because that's something that I've constantly practiced and strengthened those places in my brain. So when life is hard, when, the way I say it, I got bitch slapped by life, right? That's one of the ways I describe it, because that's how I feel sometimes. And it's very difficult in those moments, if you don't already have that strengthened gratitude, to be able to find those things to say, yes, this is so enormous and it's so troubling and it's so difficult and I'm grieving so hard for this. And I can force myself to list the things I'm also grateful for, so that you can have that balance in perspective, right? That even when things are so low, I'm also then grateful for the things that are going well, which is really, really hard to identify if that's not something that's practiced when things are good.
Yes. I absolutely agree with you on that point. For me, I've been writing journal since 2016, probably. So for me, when things were really low, when I felt really miserable, I couldn't do gratitude at all. So what helped me? I just pulled up the journal and I read gratitude that I read before. That a little bit helped me, because I didn't have to come up with the gratitude, because my mind was not functioning that way. But I could read, okay, you had this, okay, here you had this, and I realized, okay, and then my brain started to work in that direction, and I could come up with my own gratitude. So having the list of your past gratitude, that really helped, at least me.
What about your relationships leading up to now? How important are your relationships, or have they been for your development?
That's the big relationships is the biggest paradox in my life, because I am like when I like was a young guy, I thought I would never. I was like. I was a straight A student, and I thought like I would never create any relationships, and I was a perfect friend, but I couldn't date girls, and nobody wanted to date me. They asked for help. I was the best helper, but I was not a boyfriend, and nobody looked at me like that. So I thought that I would never build any relationships. So that fear was the worst fear in my life. So I thought that I would become a great entrepreneur. I would be successful. I would make lots of money, and maybe in that way, I'll make up for for my misery in relationship. But I put so many hours and efforts into business, and some way I met my wife, and we met on a dating website, and that's been the best sphere of my life so far. So I put like all my life into business, into coaching, into helping people, but still my business was not so good as my relationships. And that's a paradox of life. You're working on some sphere, but still there is something else that you just receive as a gift, and it's better than the thing that you're working on a daily basis. So that's, I can't explain that was like a pure luck. I'm super lucky that I met my wife, but she spent 5 years on dating website to meet me, so I was lucky. I like, she was the first person I met, and I was probably, I know, like 5 years on the dating website. That was too much.
How sweet. That's very, very sweet.
Yeah.
A lot of what you're saying is recognizing the pain that's there, recognizing the challenges that are there, while still having curiosity and hope for something to come up. I don't think you were actually defining what you want to come up for you.
I defined at first. I read lots of books, and I defined the exact girlfriend that I wanted. I wrote down 25 items of what I wanted, even the colors of her eyes, the size of her boobs, like everything. I defined everything, and honestly, that girl came. So that girl came in, and we lived together. Everything was perfect for half of a year, and then we parted ways because I realized that I didn't include very important things on an energy level in that list. And then I was so frustrated with that list that I let it go off. And then I went to joined the dating website. I didn't have like any items on the list. I just wanted a girlfriend, and I wanted just to have some regular sex. So that was the only item. And then my wife came in, and I had zero items. I have zero demands. I just zero, nothing. And like the best person came in, and that was so crazy. I can't explain that.
Just being open for the universe to give you what's right for you.
Yes, and just let go of all the expectations, let go of all the demands, let go of, I deserve this, I want this type of person, all this clarity. Just trust God and let God guide you. So that helped me a lot, and I'm still super grateful.
I love it. How long have you been married?
In October there will be 15 years.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm super lucky. And
again,
that's been a big step forward.
And your resilience is just incredible.
Thank you.
It's, you embody what I think is so necessary. We have to keep plowing through life. You just keep going, no matter what happens. I read recently, and I've been using this a lot, which it helps me a lot when something goes off script, right?
And it always goes from off script.
Right. So when something goes completely haywire, I'm like, oh, plot twist, right? Instead of, why is this happening? Why are we still dealing with this struggle? Why is there a new struggle? Instead of the why, it's like, oh, plot twist. What do I do with this now? I'm just kind of riding that wave.
Yeah.
So, and you've been doing that too, no matter what life has thrown at you, whether it's with your business, it's with your childhood, it's with your upbringing, it's with your passion, it's with the war. It's been all of it. You've just been
Yeah.
riding the wave.
I'm thinking what's the most important here. So I really believe that you need to go your own path. You need to probably why I am resilient. I'm not so resilient. I'm just doing what I love. Even that's hard to build the business from scratch in the different markets, in the using different language, but I love doing that. I love coaching. I love meeting people. I love listening to people, exploring their lives. I love exploring business. I love marketing. I'm not so good at marketing, but I like it. I like to explore it, and just that sort of thinking, just being yourself and doing what you're supposed to do, not what other people want you to do, not them what the community or the society, just be yourself. And when you're yourself, you're extremely powerful, because even if you're low, you'll still keep doing, keep going, keep building, because that's who you are. But you need to define who you really are, and not what other people wanted you to be.
Precisely. Learn your truth and then live your truth, right?
Yeah.
Which is very, very hard to do. Very hard to do. But that's what we have you for, and people like me for. And, we're here to help guide people towards that path of what that truth is supposed to look like for them, and only for them.
Yes. And I can share, just to add on this topic, I want to share my dream. I wanted to, like Tony Robbins, I wanted to fill in the room with thousands of people. That was my really big dream. But at least I thought that was my dream. And I tried to visualize that. I tried to work on that, but something was not right. But I pushed harder. I wanted to do that. And I failed. I just couldn't. I had a room filled in with 100 people. I felt extremely cool. That was like, people were fantastic. We had great time during the live events, during the workshops. We hug a lot, but I couldn't fill in the room with thousands of people. And then when the war started, I realized that was I couldn't fulfill that dream. The market was down, the business was down. That's it. And then I started analyzing why I couldn't make that dream happen. And then I realized that was not my real dream. That was dream from Tony Robbins. I looked at him, I looked at his life, I looked at how things were for him, and I brought that to my life. But honestly, that was not my heart's dream. That was not my soul's dream. And that was like my mind's dream, And that was a big realization for me. And I, working with thousands of people, I realized many people, they just take some other's dream, they bring it to their life, and they want to accomplish that. Of course, they will fail. Like, even if they succeed, maybe 5% of them will succeed. But even if they succeed, they will find themselves empty, because that was not their dream.
Right.
This is why it's so important to be yourself, to trust yourself, to feel yourself, even if other people will be disappointed, even if it goes against society. But you'll be happy. You'll find your strength, and finally you'll be resilient, and everything will come up together.
Yep. Well, thank you again. Thank you for being here with me, and thank you for being here for our listeners, and then giving your life examples and everything that you've been through, and your perspective, and bringing your authentic self to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing me in here. I really enjoyed having this talk with you. Like, I see how genuine you are, how you love people, how you care about them, and that's really valuable. So I believe your clients and your audience, they love you so much, and they trust you because you're a genuine person.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone that listened and followed along. I hope you got something great from this, and we'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you. Bye.